Hi guys, welcome to RootStem. On this video I'm going to be telling you why I'm actually quite excited about the new army builds for 9th edition. Hi guys, trying to have a camera in a new position. I'm doing that thing again with my eyes. Ignore the boxes. Them boxes are boxes that I use for spraying models on. So basically put a load of models across the top and it makes it easier to manipulate it to spray the actual models themselves. So in this video I am going to talk about how excited, I know in my last video I wasn't that bothered about the new rules. Well, I was, but some things I think are going to be a chore, especially the terrain ones, having to argue with an opponent regarding what's going to count as terrain, because Games Workshop's given examples and I know for a fact they're going to be necessary. So basically I'm going to be talking about a bit that I actually am excited about, and that is building new armies in the new game of 40k. So one of the reasons I'm quite excited about the new ways that you're actually going to be building your armies is the fact that your armies are now going to have set command points. So if you're playing up to 500, I'm going to say points because Games Workshop are trying to force this power level onto us, and I've actually done 2 combat patrols recently making the points, and one I used Battle Scribe, and on Battle Scribe, I got to 25 for a Space Marine detachment, 25 for a Genestealer Cult, and the Space Marines were 480 something points, whereas the Genestealer Cult had just only crossed over 400. So that's nearly 100 points of difference. So to me, power levels are not. You don't ignore power levels. Go for the points. Unless you're playing narrative games, power levels are great in narrative games, but they're terrible when it comes to points based. You know, just playing your opponent anyway. I like the fact, pardon me, I like the fact that you've actually got command points per battle. So if I'm going to be playing these 500 point battles, 3 command points apiece, not a problem. You have to use your command points to purchase your detachments, but then if it's got your warlord, you get that refunded. Now, the last time round in 8th edition, if I was playing, I'm going to use 2,000 points as an example. So if we're going to play a game of 2,000 points with an opponent, we've got 12 command points to play with. That's great. That's fantastic. Then, of course, you have to buy your detachments. Now, majority of the detachments, your patrol detachment is 2 CP. Your battalion, which is your mainstay detachment, that's 3 command points to field. A brigade is 4 command points. I don't see many people using brigades unless you're playing like 3,000 point games. That's the only time I can really see brigade coming into it. Vanguard, Spearhead, and Outrider, which is the 3 elites, the 3 heavy support, and the 3 fast attack, they're all 3 command points apiece. And then, of course, you've also got your Supreme Command Detachment. That's changed drastically. Supreme Command Detachment doesn't cost any points. But you do get some weird benefits. And I think you can only include, I'm just reading, can only be include 1 Primarch, Demon Primarch, or Supreme Commander unit. This will be then treated as your warlord. So I'm guessing in future some units are going to have, or maybe even when the actual game comes out and you get some erratas, they're going to have Supreme Commander as a keyword. That'd be really cool if your characters had it. And then you've got your auxiliaries and, of course, super heavies. So a standard 1 Lord of War super heavy is going to cost you 3 command points. If you have Titanic units in a 3 to 5 detachment, that's going to cost you 6. So that's, if you're going to basically stick a couple of knights, or about 3 knights in with your Imperial Guard, that's going to be, which way do you go? Do you pay for the battalion? If you are going to do that, I can see a lot of people are basically going to just use. I can see basically a lot of people are just going to use like a full-on army of 1 type rather than mixing and matching, and maybe just using a patrol or 2 because they only cost 2 CP. You can have additional support auxiliaries like you did before. So if you wanted to add a random unit of Space Marines to your Imperial Guard army, as it were, you can spend 2 CP and add that in there. Quite like the idea of doing that sometimes, but it is counted as a detachment. So with certain game levels, you can only have so many detachments. For example, in 2,000 points, which is counted as strike force, you can have a maximum of 3 detachments. So that would count as one of them. And of course, there's a fortification detachment, which costs 1 CP. But if the fortification has the same faction trait as your warlord, then you get that refunded. But at the moment, I've seen the new Space Marine drop weird thing. That's probably going to be the only one that's going to have a keyword same as the actual warlord. So they've already trying to push Space Marines again in this particular edition. I thought they may have tried to rein it in a little bit, but apparently not. Now, the reason this excites me is because you're going to have people that are going to try their best to stick to one detachment. Now, if you're an old school player like I am, when I used to play back in the day, 7th and before that particular, well, actually, I'm going to go back to 3rd and 4th, where you really just had one you had one layout. So you could have 2 troops, I think the maximum was 6 troops, 2 HQs, 3 elites, 3 fast attack, 3 heavy support. There wasn't any flyers. I can see that becoming a bit more of a thing now with the battalions. I think majority of people are going to be taking battalions or even patrols, maybe. I think patrol will become your secondary role. So if you're going to have some allies in there, if you are going to try and have some soup, then people are probably going to purchase a patrol detachment rather than having 2 battalions in there. So basically on the battalion front, you're going to be limited to 3 HQ choices. You're going to have 2, and it's going to limit the heavy support that you're possibly going to come across. Now, somebody could decide, no, what I'll do is I'll have a vanguard, I'll have a spearhead detachment instead. 6, but that's going to give them less troops. That's going to give them a hell of a lot less elites, a hell of a lot faster attack. If they want to go that route, that's fine, they can do. And then if I want to purchase another thing to try and get themselves the troops, they can do, but then they're losing command points. So if you stick to 1 battalion, you've got more command points to spend, which then, of course, means that you've got more command points to spend on trying to outflank your units on the enemy. Don't get me wrong, you get 1 command point per turn, and they've already included the feature for refunding a command point is once per battle round, I believe. Which is now included in the actual main rules. Now, if you wanted to try and infiltrate or get a unit that's going to be going, left, right, and off centre, then that's going to be the greatest way of doing that. Is going to be able to save your actual command points. Sorry, I heard something outside. You're wanting to save your command points so you can try and use as many different stratagems as you possibly can. And we all know that if you've got a lot of command points, you've got a lot of cool stratagems. A lot of cool stratagems came out in Psychic Awakening, especially for things like Cult and Guard. Guard having the ability to be able to upgrade units to be in like some form of ace tank ability. I mean, an ace tank Manticore that causes 3 damage with its blast weapon. Guaranteed 3 damage. That's a Space Marine killer right there, if I'm perfectly honest. And they can move and not have the -1. So, yeah, the flavour and flavour of the armies is going to change. And I do think you're going to be building your armies based around stratagems that you're going to be able to use against your opponent. I don't think it's going to be a free-for-all like it was last time, where basically people just take super heavies everywhere. I think you are going to be seriously considering what you're going to be taking in future games. Now, speaking of the Lords of War, a lot of the terrain features, like the Obscuring Rule, is going to make Lords of War and Flyers not really a viable option unless you're going to be outflanking them. So this, of course, again, is going to be like, right, so I'm taking an Imperial Guard army, I'm going to have a Baneblade, I'm going to outflank the Baneblade. Let's have a look at how many command points that's going to cost. So, you've got your Battalion of Guard, you want to add the Baneblade. The Baneblade, to add the Baneblade, it's a super heavy detachment, so you're going to have to spend 3 command points to purchase that. So that's going to take you from your 12. So if it's playing 2,000 points, I'm going to take you from your 12 down to your 9. Now you want to outflank the Baneblade. So, or put it into strategic reserve. That's going to cost you another 3 because it's 28 power level. So all in all, to have that Baneblade and have that Baneblade suddenly outflanking is going to cost you half of your starting command points. Don't get me wrong, you get 1 at the beginning of each command phase, so effectively when you start the game you're going to end up with 7. But what if you're wanting any extra heirlooms, or what if you're wanting any extra credits, or you're wanting extra equipment, or you're wanting to tank ace people? That's when it's going to become a problem. So you're going to lose a lot of abilities. So you're kind of going to be looking at, right, is it worth it? Is it worth doing this? Is it worth doing this all the time? Apologies, I keep burping. I'm drinking too much Coca-Cola. It's just going to be really interesting when people are building forces. And I think it's going to be a lot of trial and error. People are going to be trying out units to see whether or not they work in this new edition. I do think there's going to be a lot more line of sight blocking terrain because people are going to be using a lot more ruins. Don't get me started the fact that I also think that trees should be obscuring, but that's by and by. That'll be down to per player, so watch out per player. I also think sort of like deep striking is going to be a bit of a thing that you're going to need. I haven't seen any restrictions at the moment to say how many units you can and can't have in reserve, but I would normally go from the rule of thumb that about half. But it's going to be interesting. I mean, if you've got one unit that's an extra command point, you can always outflank them for that. The free points at the free command points that one power level. Apologies, I'll rephrase that. One power level, and you can always add it to the outflanking units. That's probably just going to be a lonely captain or commander. That would be quite interesting, though, having a little captain running across the battlefield, just clearing an objective with a Baneblade in tow. So all in all, I do think up to about 2,000 points, we are going to see a lot of people trying just to use one detachment. It's not really worth going for Vanguard or Spear because that's 3 command points, and I think if people want to stick additional units in there, it's going to be patrols. So people are going to be using a lot more patrols than they used to be, which gives you an extra 2 of each. So effectively, if you have a battalion and you have a patrol, you have the Warlord in your battalion, you've got to have 3 HQs, that's pretty much a given. You've got to have 4 troops, that's fine. But then you can have, if you want, up to 5 heavy support choices. You can have then, if you want, up to 8 elite choices. I mean, that would probably be all right for Genestealer Cult. I mean, Genestealer Cult, you're really going to be changing your army because you can only take 1 of each character per detachment. So it's going to be one of those where, do you want to take 2 Broodlords? Are you just going to take 1 Broodlord? Are you going to take masses of something else because it's going to be a completely different game? Are you going to use your normal 9-inch reserve rolls, or are you going to be strategizing to be able to get units up into different positions? You don't need 2 battalions anymore because you don't need to get... That's the thing as well, is that you don't need all this extra stuff because you're going to be able to use a variety of different ways to be able to get up that battlefield. And yeah, the missions are going to be very different. So because the missions are going to be very different, it's going to be very objective based, and there's a cap on how many points you're going to get. That's where the game might actually bring back in. Some of the rules are a bit like, but I think the missions and building your armies is going to be what's going to bring me back into this game. So thank you very much for watching, guys. Please ignore the background noise. I'm having to have a window open. It's still actually quite warm. Please like, share, subscribe, hit that notification button if you do want to see more. Hopefully, Battle Report will be coming out soon. Fingers crossed. And I'm hoping to be able to get back. I know COVID-19's hit everywhere, and it's still affecting us all. But our club's opening back up. Various other places, pubs are opening back up. Although I think once the pubs have opened back up, they're going to open up for a week, and then it's going to be locked down again because everyone's going to have passed it on to somebody else. Don't get me started though. And we will see you next time. Possibly, like I say, I think it's painting videos are coming out on Saturday. I'm going to try and get these out on the Friday, and hopefully as well on Saturday I might have a battle report for you guys to watch, if not Sunday.